Soto was then handcuffed and loaded into this prisoner transport van with 4 other prisoners by Mount Vernon police officers. Remarkably, sources say Soto managed to stash a .22 caliber revolver in his buttocks the entire time, and while en route to jail, allegedly shot a fellow prisoner in the leg. Well, sources are telling me tonight that gun was stashed in this prisoner's buttocks, and he managed to get into this prisoner transport van undetected after he saw a judge. And now 2 police officers are in the hot seat, and another prisoner is in the hospital tonight with that gunshot wound to the leg.
It started as a routine morning in Mount Vernon. 5 inmates, 2 officers, 1 short drive to the county jail, a route less than half a mile. But halfway there, a gunshot, a prisoner screams, blood on the metal floor of the van, and a question that would shake an entire department. How does a man already in custody, already searched, already handcuffed, pull the trigger inside a locked police transport? This wasn't supposed to happen, and yet it did. It was Thursday morning when Mount Vernon police loaded the 5 prisoners into the van. Each man shackled, each man searched, or so they thought. Moments later, officers heard a single, sharp crack. No warning, no argument, no buildup. Just the unmistakable sound of a gun going off inside their vehicle. When the van screeched back to the headquarters, 1 man was bleeding from the leg. A small caliber bullet had torn through his lower thigh, and the weapon, a .22 caliber handgun, recovered from the floor of the van. No one could explain it, not yet.
An investigation underway into a bizarre shooting in Mount Vernon. Police say shots were fired inside a prison transport van, sending 1 man to the hospital with a gunshot wound. And now investigators are trying to figure out where that gun came from and how it even ended up in the van. Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis in Mount Vernon with more. Marcus.
Indeed, Sandra, 2 Mount Vernon police officers now on modified duty as that investigation moves forward, being conducted not only by the Mount Vernon Police Department, but also the Westchester County District Attorney's Office, as many inside and outside of the department ask, how could this have even happened in the first place?
This is a very serious incident. We take this very seriously.
An incident that once again casts the spotlight on the Mount Vernon Police Department. Last night, 5 prisoners were loaded into a police van for transport to the Westchester County Jail. The vehicle traveled less than a half mile when the unthinkable took place.
The officers reported hearing a single gunshot from the rear of the van, followed by a prisoner stating that he had been shot.
The van returned to police headquarters where a .22 caliber gun was recovered. Police say 32-year-old Louis Soto of the Bronx had hidden the weapon, which somehow went undetected after his arrest. Mount Vernon modified its search policy after a scathing report last year by the Justice Department concluded officers conducted an excessive number of strip searches. Police say magnetometers will now be used to screen prisoners. But community activists say the shooting is the result of a deeper problem within the department.
So many good officers, experienced officers have left this department for better pay, retired. You have rookies training rookies right now in the city. For them to say that DOJ excuse, the fallback as far as the strip searching, we're not going to handle that. We're not buying that.
No one else was injured in that incident. The prisoner who did suffer that gunshot wound currently remains hospitalized with a gunshot to his lower leg, not considered life-threatening. The shooter, Louis Soto, is set to be arraigned on additional charges. And again, 2 police officers currently on modified duty as this investigation moves forward.
His name, Luis Soto, 32 years old, from the Bronx. Just a day before the shooting, Soto had been arrested for forcible touching, a misdemeanor that should have led to paperwork, maybe a short sentence, maybe bail. But instead, his name is now tied to one of the strangest security breaches in New York law enforcement history.
Suspected gun smuggler Louis Soto walked into Mount Vernon court Friday night under heavy security. Only Pix 11 was there for his second trip in front of Judge Tamika Cloverdale in 24 hours.
He does pose an extreme flight risk.
Thursday, the same judge ordered him to the county lockup for child sex abuse charges. Soto was then handcuffed and loaded into this prisoner transport van with 4 other prisoners by Mount Vernon police officers. Remarkably, sources say Soto managed to stash a .22 caliber revolver in his buttocks the entire time, and while en route to jail, allegedly shot a fellow prisoner in the leg.
The officers reported hearing a single gunshot from the rear of the van. The officers immediately returned to police headquarters, where additional department personnel assisted in safely offloading the prisoners.
The Mount Vernon Police Department in Westchester County launching a joint investigation into how Soto slipped the gun past so many layers of security since his arrest October 15th. Sources say it's possible he had it hidden on him in the courtroom too.
So all them times they never patted him down, that weapon was still on him? That's unresponsible, it's unacceptable.
Outrage from the community as the department overhauls its search protocol for all inmates again.
The use of the department's magnetometer handheld wand is now mandatory for all new prisoner processings. The use of it was optional previously.
The two officers directly involved have been put on desk duty, while the 32-year-old Bronx man said nothing as he was remanded to jail once more on the gun charges.
Based upon these charges and also what occurred yesterday, as such, he is going to be remanded.
It's unclear if the shooting was intentional or accidental. The victim is still in the hospital recovering, and Soto has been ordered to stay away from him until his next court date.
Police say Soto somehow hid the weapon through the arrest, through the search, and onto the van. They say it was undetected. But how do you hide a gun when you're being booked, cuffed, and watched by trained officers? And why bring it only to use it inside a moving police vehicle? Those questions still don't have clear answers. The shooting didn't just wound one inmate, it wounded the department's reputation. Two Mount Vernon officers were immediately placed on modified duty, their every move that morning under review by the district attorney's office. Acting Commissioner Marcel Oliviers stepped forward to face the cameras. "This is a very serious incident," he said. "We take this very seriously." But behind the podium, the whispers were growing louder. Whispers about poor training, short staffing, and rookies training rookies. Community activists said what others were afraid to. "We're not buying the DOJ excuse. This is deeper. This department is breaking down from the inside." And maybe they were right.
Well, sources are telling me tonight that gun was stashed in this prisoner's buttocks, and he managed to get into this prisoner transport van undetected after he saw a judge. And now two police officers are in the hot seat, and another prisoner is in the hospital tonight with that gunshot wound to the leg. Now, within the last 10 minutes, the suspect, Luis Soto, went before a judge for the second night in a row. Pix 11 cameras were the only ones inside of the courtroom. You see him as he was brought in with his hands behind his back under heavy security. He was remanded into custody, and he is now going to be sent back to the Westchester County Jail tonight, 24 hours after this harrowing incident unfolded. The shooting happened while the prisoners were being brought to the jail inside of a Mount Vernon police transport van, 7 o'clock last night. Officials say that the person was shot by a fellow prisoner who'd smuggled the gun into the vehicle on his body. As cops heard the shot go off mid-ride, they turned around, raced back here to police headquarters, where 5 prisoners were offloaded and secured. Police say Luis Soto was the man who had the loaded .22 caliber revolver. But how it got past multiple layers of security is what's being investigated right now. Soto's a 32-year-old Bronx man who had been arrested on Wednesday initially for allegedly sexually assaulting a minor. Now he's facing multiple charges related to the shooting. As a result, police are overhauling their security protocols, knowing full well how much more serious this could have been.
He seen the judge reprimanded him to Valhalla. So that means he stood before the judge with the weapon on him. He got in the transport van with the weapon on him. So all them times they never patted him down, that weapon was still on him? That's unresponsible, it's unacceptable.
The use of the department's magnetometer handheld wand is now mandatory for all new prisoner processings. The use of it was optional previously.
Well, prior to this, the Mount Vernon Police Department was under scrutiny due to a DOJ investigation about unlawful strip searches here at the police department. But now another overhaul is underway as 2 police officers have been put on desk duty while the investigation continues. Live in Mount Vernon, I'm Anthony DiLorenzo, Pix 11 News.
All of this, Anthony, so stunning, especially when you think about how all these places where that gun was along this process. Thank you so much.
Just months before the shooting, the Department of Justice had released a scathing report. It accused Mount Vernon police of conducting too many strip searches, sometimes unlawfully. Embarrassed, the department scaled back its procedures. No more invasive searches. No more complaints. At least that was the idea. But less than a year later, a gun slipped through. A gun that wasn't supposed to be there. And a man bled because of it. Now, that same DOJ policy meant to protect civil rights might have opened the door for a bullet. In that small, windowless cage, 5 prisoners rode in silence. Then, chaos. 1 gunshot, 1 man hit, and 3 others claiming they didn't see a thing. No video, no body cams. Only the statements of men who had every reason to stay quiet. Who pulled the trigger? Police say Soto. But the more investigators look, the stranger it got. How was the gun hidden? How did no one notice it through booking? And what if the shot wasn't meant for the man who got hit? The wounded inmate survived, barely. A single bullet lodged in his leg. A story that didn't make sense even to him. Soto now faces new charges: weapon possession, assault, and reckless endangerment. But in Mount Vernon, the damage was already done. The department ordered new magnetometers for prisoner screening. Policies rewritten overnight. But trust isn't fixed by a policy, because everyone's still asking the same thing. If a gun can make it into a police van once, what's stopping it from happening again? It's been called a bizarre case, a freak incident, a once-in-a-lifetime failure. But the truth is quieter, more unsettling, because the biggest mystery isn't how the gun got in the van, it's how no one saw it coming. Somewhere in that short drive, less than a half a mile, law, order, and control all fell apart in the blink of an eye. And now, Mount Vernon is left with a haunting truth. Sometimes, the most dangerous weapon isn't the one you can see. It's the one you never expected to be there at all. Alright, y'all, there y'all have it, man. That's a crazy story of the inmate boofing a 22, clapping the inmate, man. I know y'all got a lot to say about this. That's diabolical, man. He put the 22 in the luxury Gucci bag, bro. No Diddy. Hey, man, get in that comment section, man. Let me know what y'all think. Drillers and trappers, we outside trapping and drilling 247. And you know what the saying is. Don't go nowhere. Watch that next video. Gang!